and have always exploited us. The question is, when are you going to wake up and chart your own path and ride your own train, heading towards your own destination? This moment, my brothers and sisters, is calling for us to have that conversation. This moment is calling for us to wake up. And we're counting on you media people who are our CNN. If you all came together and began to speak our truth all around the world, we can reach more people than we could ever reach with an ad on CNN. You media personalities, our internet radio stations, our internet televisions, small as you are, but when you come together, you're bigger than CNN. You're bigger than CNN. So that ability for us to come together, it starts with us appreciating that we are in the intensive care, critically ill from the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonization. That until we heal from these two ailments, nothing, and I mean nothing, that we try to do is going to succeed. Because the crab mentality will always prevail. We call it the PhD, pull her down, pull him down. We suffer from that disease, and we are in the intensive care. Accept that. I often talk to my friends, and I'll talk about the legacy of slavery and colonization, and you will be surprised. Almost 100% of the time, my friends would say, oh, I'm so glad I don't have that problem. And I'll say, well, you are wrong, my friend, because you do. And then you begin to give them examples of the things that we do. We are on an automatic pilot of stupidity that has got to end. You tell me why today Africa continues to be exploited to the extent that we do. We do not add value to our natural resources. 70% of the coltan in the world comes from DRC. Can you imagine if DRC was to come together and say everything that requires coltan has got to be manufactured in DRC. Every chip, microchip that needs coltan must be manufactured in DRC. That means every cell phone, every laptop, every electric battery that requires coltan has to be, the microchips must be manufactured in DRC. Do you know how many jobs we could create? Do you know how many millions of jobs we could create with one mineral? And yet they look at us and say, why is there youth unemployment? Hell, you're taking all our natural resources. You're putting trade policies that make it difficult for Africans to dictate how they sell their minerals, how they add value. The international trade policies are totally against Africa and its development, and it's by design. Have you ever wondered how much all the Swiss chocolate, Swiss coffee that we see all over African hotels, African grocery stores? Since when did Switzerland grow coffee? Since when did Switzerland grow cocoa beans? 65% of the cocoa beans come out of West Africa. Where is Hershey City in West Africa? Where is Cadbury City in West Africa? Do people in those cities even know that those cocoa beans are coming from West Africa? All they provide is milk and water. But nobody questions that. Why is it difficult for African countries to come together and say, no, we don't need to export our hot chocolate. We don't need to export our cocoa. We're going to manufacture it in Africa for distribution to the Africans. We can no longer continue to send the cocoa beans out only for Africans to buy the hot chocolate and the coffee. Our coffee from East Africa, our tea from East Africa. Some of the best are taken to Europe and they're renamed only for Africans to buy them as if they originated from another country. Why are we allowing this stupidity to go on? It's because we are not united. And that takes me to the Berlin Conference. Berlin Conference, if you're going to understand why Africa is today, you must understand the Berlin Conference. Some might think the Berlin Conference is a piece of history. It's a thing of the past. I used to hear diaspora ask me that all the time. Ambassador, why do you keep talking about the Berlin Conference? It's a thing of the past. I am sorry to say, my brothers, for those who choose to remain ignorant, and these are educated people with PhDs, the Berlin Conference is alive and well. The colonizers did not spend 4 months in the cold Berlin winter from November of 1884 to February of 1885, just for the heck of it. They did not spend 4 months to strategize on how to prosper Africa. They spent the 4 months strategizing on how to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominators. May I Portugal, Belgium, they met in Berlin to strategize on how to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. So how did they do it? They got up every morning, sat up around a great big old table with a great big old map of Africa across from them. They knew they had some powerful kingdoms that if they did not have a solid strategy, they would never defeat Africa. So the larger and powerful a kingdom was, the more countries that came out of that kingdom. And on top of that, they assigned these little bitty countries to different colonizers who spoke different languages for maximal destruction. Yes, divide and conquer. I often say, imagine you're driving from Zambia. You're speaking English. You're going north. Pretty soon you are in Angola, you're speaking Portuguese. Keep driving north, next thing you know, you're in DRC, you're speaking French. Go a little west, you're now in Equatorial Guinea, you're speaking Spanish. Veer a little bit north, you're in Southern Cameroon, you're speaking English. Still in the same country, keep going north, you're now in Northern Cameroon, you're speaking French. And before you know it, you are in Nigeria, you're speaking English. Keep going west, now you go through the little slither of countries, they are really counties, Benin and Togo. You're speaking French, and before you know it, you're in Ghana, you're speaking English. And keep going, next thing you know, you're in Cote d'Ivoire, you're speaking English, and keep going, now you're in Liberia, you're speaking English. Cote d'Ivoire was French. It was all by design to cause maximum destruction. So what happens when you cause these divisions? Give it 2-3 generations, people who were once one, they no longer know each other. They don't recognize themselves as family. They now speak different languages. What are you disrupting? You are disrupting their ability to trade with each other. So they told us you're different countries. During colonization, they led us from their capitals. If you were colonized by the British, you were led from London. If you were colonized by the Germans, you were led from Berlin. If you were colonized by the French, you were led from Paris. And then, of course, after we had a few of us Pan-African leaders who began to spring up and demanded independence. Some were given their independence, others had to fight for it. End result, we ended up with these little bitty countries that cannot survive on their own. Little bitty countries that took carte blanche, the laws of the colonizers, implemented them, and to this day, we are still following the laws of the colonizers. The policies of the colonizers, we accepted them, carte blanche, we continue to use them to this day. Have you ever wondered why we still need visas to travel from one African country to the other? While we have issues that go back to colonization that we have no control over, there are certain issues that we are capable of taking care of ourselves. But because we're suffering from this disease, even that which we can do to take care of ourselves and improve our circumstances, we are incapable of doing so. as an African, I'm ashamed. When I would travel to Africa, an American friend can go through the immigration faster than me, the African. Why? That's stupidity again. At the stroke of a pen, this could be taken care of. But no, I'm from Malawi, and I'm from Kenya, I'm better, and I'm from Nigeria, I'm better. Really? How are you better? The same disease. And we say these things without even thinking. Our history, we're still using colonial textbooks from colonization. We have so many educators right here in the United States and Europe and around the world. We could change the curriculum just like that. We know the truth. But to the same extent that we know the truth, somehow we're incapable of changing it. My brothers and sisters, do you see how disgusting this is? Even when we go to our own African countries, we're still disrespected by our own children. I was at a restaurant standing in line to be seated. I've been waiting 15 minutes. A young white couple comes behind me and my husband. A young black girl, after having seen me and my husband waiting, and we were next. But because the white couple came behind us, she was reaching behind us to call them first. Fortunately, the white couple said no. They came first. Grudgingly, she sat us down. We got to deal with that in Africa. That self-hate. Remember that little girl who thought the black doll was ugly? But that little girl has grown up now, and she hasn't changed. She still thinks the blackness, anything black is not good. So where do we go from here? The onus is on us. It doesn't matter where you see us. As black people in America, black people in Africa, black people in the Caribbean, in South America, in Europe, all over the world. Nobody was exempt. This strategy has percolated through every one of us. The self-hate, the mistrust, the lack of belief in ourselves and in each other. It's a pandemic that we're having to deal with as black people. But do we even realize it as a pandemic that's worse than COVID? Because it misses no one. It affects every black person. When are we going to wake up from our slumber? Because if we do not, it doesn't matter how much we get together, nothing will be accomplished. Because our minds are still in the gutter. Our minds are still fast asleep. We are completely brainwashed. And we need to understand that. You see, for you to go seek help from a doctor, you got to understand, first of all, that you're sick. But if you don't think you're sick, how are you going to get help? When you go to that negotiating table with a colonized mind, garbage in, garbage out. When you go to Africa today, look what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Cameroon, what's happening in Somalia, what's happening in Mali, what's happening in Niger. Who are the people you see holding the guns? It's not white people. It's black people holding the guns. It's us killing each other. We're being given peanuts to kill each other. Have you ever wondered? A continent that doesn't have a single gun manufacturing plant. We have endless supply of guns. If you want to know what is going on in our Africa, I often say, when you hear something happen in Africa, look for the story behind the story. You want to know what's going on in our Africa, follow the guns. The conversation we are embarking on today is to see where we can say, how do we come together as children of one mother Africa? Can we please be the generation that's going to put an end to this carnage? Can we please be the generation that's going to turn the corner and begin to tell our children the truth and nothing but the truth. Imagine 20 years from now, you have your granddaughter, you have your grandson, and they're going to ask you, grandpa, grandmother, there were problems with our Africa. There were problems with our Black race. What did you do? What did you do, grandma? What did you do, grandpa? Why must I live in a world that I'm going to be hated simply because of the color of my skin? Why must I live in a world afraid to be the next George Floyd? What is your answer going to be, my brothers and sisters? That we did nothing. Just like our parents and grandparents, we did nothing. And now we're just going to continue to be the underdogs. The mothers and fathers of humanity are going to continue to be treated as the scum of the earth. I would hope your answer to your grandchildren is that my granddaughter, my grandson, message after the tone. Together with my brothers and sisters, we got together. We understand that what was taken away from us pivotally is denial of economic liberation. Economic liberation was denied to Black people across the globe. Even in this beautiful United States, had the Black people been given the promised 40 acres and a mule, their conditions, their economic situation will be very different. As African countries were getting their liberation from the colonizers, we were given limited political liberation to this day, but economic liberation was never given to us. The multinational companies that ran and operated in those countries that the colonies held, they remain in those countries to this day. They are the major employers in every African country. If you were a British colony, the majority of the multinationals in your country are British companies. If you were a French colony, the majority of the multinational companies in your country are French companies. They are the major employers and employing thousands of people. And if the heads of states try to force them to pay taxes, and by the way, most of them don't pay taxes. They have safe havens where they keep their money. They underreport what they mine. They underreport what they're selling, what they mine for. The end result is they don't pay taxes. They had their money, safe havens. They're involved in illegal trade, illegal mining, illegal fishing, anything you can think of that they could steal out of Africa, they're involved in. The end results, trillions of dollars are getting out of Africa every year. And they return back 50 billion as aid. And we Africans are very happy to receive that aid. And we will thank them from hell to high heaven for giving us peanuts out of what they would have stolen from us at night. So I hope your answer to your grandchildren is, my brothers and sisters, we all got together. We analyzed our circumstances.
Hey, bro, what do you do for a living?
We spoke about what was really going on. We educated each other about what was really going on. And that we should not be allowed to be thrown a shiny object and run after the shiny object when the real issues are over here. That example is about, for example, when I used to travel around the country, the minute I would finish talking, the first question, 100% of the time, but Ambassador, the African leaders are corrupt. I don't disagree. We have corruption issues in Africa at every level, down to the person who is leading the janitorial department. We gotta go after the corruption. 50 billion is a lot of money. Let's go after it. However, let's not go after 500 billion because we are being told to ignore that. It was a shocker for me to realize the corruption among African leaders was the beginning, the middle, and the end of every conversation to do with Africa. Until I started talking about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. The question I had for the diaspora was, I understand your outrage over the $50 billion out of corruption. That's what the corruption watchdogs say is coming out of Africa from corruption. I said, where is your 10 times outrage over the $500 billion taken by France from 14 African countries? And that's when there was silence. No. If we're going to talk about corruption, let's talk about all corruption, because we got to deal with all of it. Tell me one African leader, one African country that has changed a leader and things changed. None. We can change leaders like we change clothes in Africa. Nothing is going to change because the fundamentals have not yet been addressed. Allow me to use the example of a tree. We have issues above the ground and issues below the ground. To the best of my ability, let me give you examples of issues above the ground and issues above the tree as they pertain to our Africa, so you can have a clearer understanding of what's at stake here. The issues of leadership, the issues of corruption, issues of lack of access to quality education, healthcare, infrastructure. Those are the trees, the leaves, the flowers, the branches above the tree that fall off one season after the other, and we complain. And as long as we don't address the issues of the root, the issues above the tree will continue. We can change leaders all we want. We might succeed at maybe 1 year, we have a good healthcare system, but pretty soon supplies will begin to fall off because we have no manufacturing. What's at the bottom? What's in the root is France, for example, taking over 500 billion out of Africa. Forcing the leaders to only acquire military equipment from them. Do you think France is going to sell them superior military equipment than them? Forcing the countries to get their military trained by them. Do you think France is going to train them better than their own military? Being forced by France to say, we will occupy your countries, we will have military presence and can invade you without notice if we feel that our interests are being violated. Your natural resources, discovered and yet to be discovered. France has the first right of refusal. The locals get what French companies don't want. Contracts, large or small, private or public. French companies have the first right of refusal. And of course, some of you are saying, why haven't the leaders done something about it? Well, you all know the history. Of the 65 older coups that have taken place in Africa, 22 African heads of states were assassinated or imprisoned. 16 of those are from former French colonies. Majority of them had wanted to pull away from the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. So the reality is, to talk about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, it became a no-go-to place, because you do that, you find your head on the chopping block. It was just that simple. The fear of the colonizers, my brothers and sisters, is real to this day. The consequences are real. Let's make no mistake about it. How do you tell a man growing up in Botswana, struggling to make ends meet and run his business, to think continental? It's not possible. But us in the diaspora, to whom much is given, much is expected. We have the ability to look at our Africa with a bird's eye view. We have the ability to mobilize our resources, financial resources. The brain drain has left Africa without the capacity, intellectual capacity, that Africa needs to build the Africa we want. To whom much is given, the brains that Africa needs are in the diaspora. Our resources, financial resources. The brain drain out of Africa started over 400 years ago. When they took the Africans out of Africa as slaves, they took the brightest and the fittest, the ones they thought would survive the transatlantic journey. So to the African Americans, African Caribbean, African Latino, to you, I say, don't you ever let anyone make you feel inferior. You are a product of the cream de la cream the world had. Even after they have taken the smartest and the fittest out of Africa, 50% of them still perished in the Atlantic. So you know, the ones who made it were the best of the best. I don't know of any race that could have gone through what Black people have gone through and are still standing. We are indeed indestructible. So I hope, my brothers and sisters, together, when you sit down to have that conversation with your granddaughter and your grandson, you will tell them what we would have done beginning today. That we came together, we deliberated on the issues that we were faced with. We made a commitment that we shall be the race.
Her sound went up.
We shall be the generation that's going to turn over a new leaf. We shall be the generation that's going to say enough is enough. No more shall our children grow up in this world worrying and fearing to be the next George Floyd. It's not enough to mourn George Floyd. Do something about it. We can't continue to be noisemakers and do nothing. We have to change our thinking. Quite often, we do a business plan. We have a project, nicely done. Next thing you know, we are looking for funding. And we are going back to the same people who have oppressed us, who have the strategies to keep us where they want us to be. Does that even make any sense? To my sisters on this call today, think of the clothes, the dresses, the shoes, the handbags that you have in your closet with tags on. What we can do with very little. What we can do with what we consider pocket change.
Right.
1,000 of us with $1,000, that's $1 million. 1 million of us with $1,000 a year, that's $1 billion. That's only $83 a month that we are saying, let's think like other races do. How do you think the Jewish fund was started? They started with whatever you can give. The more of us that come up with our $83, we can develop, we can build an African fund, African diaspora fund that will blow the world away. There are over 300 million of us. Whatever you can commit, make a commitment. And I'm insisting that don't make it anything that will be painful. No, anything that, whatever you can afford to give away, that's what you do. That's what you donate. So you can tell the children, before we go to McDonald's, did we put aside our $83? And we teach them that this has got to go to the diaspora fund. That's how we're going to build our Africa. That's how we're going to claim our economic liberation. Let's make no mistake about it. No money, no voice. It is just that simple. It boils down to the economics. We cannot go to the same people who are oppressing us and beg them for money. But what happens when you go begging them for money? You have to give them all your information. You got to turn over everything, including your great-grandmother's middle name. So what control do you have? When I know, if you were all to come together and put whatever little money that you have into a fund in a coordinated way, the sky is the limit. We have a responsibility to show the world that we're just as good as anybody else, that we can no longer continue to be somebody else's underdog, that we can no longer continue to be taken for granted. We're just as smart as anybody else, and we do not need anybody to define us as who we are, because we know who we are. The beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible. So 20 years from now, I hope you and I can begin the journey So when that question comes from our grandchildren, we'll be able to say, granddaughter, grandson, sit down. United with my brothers and sisters, this is what we did. We pulled our pennies together. This is how much we have accomplished. While the mission is not yet accomplished, while the journey continues, this is where we leave off. And this is where you and your brothers and sisters are going to pick up. And you got to unite in order to finish this journey. But the end game is the children of Africa, in Africa and around the globe, can no longer continue to be disrespected, can no longer continue to be treated as the scum of the earth, and can no longer continue to be called poor when we are inheritors of the richest continent on earth. We must honor our Africa, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The building of the Africa we want is our responsibility and ours alone. We can no longer allow others from the east, from the west to take over the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is scheduled to begin next year, next month, really. There's a seat that has our name as African diaspora. If we vacate that seat, we are going to be vacating the ability to defend our children's inheritance. If we do not come together for ourselves, we must come together for the sake of our children and generations to come. What Africa has belongs to them. We're at a crossroads at this moment. If we do not unite, the African Continental Free Trade Area is the beginning of undoing the Berlin Conference. The African Continental Free Trade Area is exactly what the Pan-African fathers were looking to do back in 1963 when they ended up with the compromise decision of the African Organization of African Unity. They came to Addis in 1963 to undo the Berlin Conference, but they failed. It's only until April of 2018 that our African leaders finally agreed on the African Continental Free Trade Area. Africa is going to enter the market as one customs union. Hallelujah. We're going to finally be speaking with one voice when it comes to trade. We are hoping intra-Africa trade is going to quadruple in the next 5 years. We are hoping that as we build the Africa that we want, just to put things in perspective, we still need thousands of airports in Africa. The question is, who's going to build them? Is it you or is it going to be the Chinese? We need millions of kilometers of highway. Question is, who's going to build them? Is it you or the Chinese or the Europeans or the Indians or the Russians or the Japanese?
Let's get it, Kasu.
We should make a commitment as we continue to dialogue to say, while we make our own clothes, we must also own the textile mill. While we build our own brick houses, we must also own the brickyard. While we fly in planes across Africa, which is what's going to happen with increased intra-Africa trade, we're going to need more airlines. Yes, we want to fly in those airlines, but we want to build those airlines. We want to own the airline, and we want to build and own the airports. Yes, we want to wake up in the morning and ride the high-speed train from Cape Town to Cairo, but we also want to build the train and own the railway line. Getting a job as a conductor or being able to just travel on that high-speed train is not good enough anymore. We want true ownership of our Africa, where we grow the food that we eat. We own the commercial farms, the massive commercial farms. We own the industries that manufacture everything that we need. That is true liberation economically. That is true ownership, and that is the ownership we are talking about, nothing less. We're no longer satisfied by owning a grocery store at the corner of the street. That's not good enough. We want true ownership of those entities that control the economy. that they can no longer come in and destabilize us because they own everything that is the pillar of development in every African country. The answer to that is hell no. We can no longer stand up for that. We know better. We are supremely qualified to build our Africa. All we gotta do is wake up, my brothers and sisters, wake up. Why do we find it so difficult to trust each other, to believe in each other? Well, I want you to know that I'm leading by example. I have been subsidizing myself since I came to Washington 4 years ago. I continue to subsidize myself. I don't get a penny out of ADDI. The volunteers are not getting a penny out of ADDI. I started ADDI with my own money, and I will continue to spend my own money because I believe in what we can do together. This is where we are today. We are here today to talk about way forward. To have you ask that question,
Let's build them airlines and them railways
are you gonna leave behind
highways, bro.
For your children,
Let's get over there.
grandchildren, and generations to come? Are you satisfied with your children living the life that you have lived? I know how we live in this diaspora. Some of us work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, and we work till we die. Our children are gonna do the same thing. Work 2-3 jobs till they die. To what end, my brothers and sisters? To what end? The inheritors of such an amazing continent. All we gotta do is get up, unite, and take care of it. Take care of it. Let's get involved in mining. Let's mine our gold. Let's mine our own minerals. And because we will be united, we can dictate how much we want to sell our minerals for, not for the buyer to say, I'll pay you so much. And we say, okay. That time is over. That time is over. And this is why we are here today, to begin to prepare for us to answer that question to our grandchildren and generations to come. Let's let the world know that Black people are now united. We may have been asleep for over 400 years. We are now awake from our slumber. We now refuse to continue to be brainwashed. We know their game now. And we know how we're going to strategize to get ourselves out of this conundrum that we've found ourselves in as a race. That we collectively agree that the insanity that we have been through, the insanity that we have suffered from for centuries, insanity no more. Insanity no more. And we are going to be the generation that's going to turn the corner, and that journey begins today. With all of you media people, we're counting on you to redo and rewrite our history, to tell the truth and nothing but the truth about us and our continent, to re-educate not only us, but the world. Even white people need the education. Many white people don't even realize they're racist. They need education. I read a book called Africa 101, which was my effort to try and share with my brothers and sisters what I thought were the very basic, bare minimal issues that we needed to understand. Because when we understand our Africa in her totality, when we understand the issues above the root and the issues below the root. The issues below the root are those issues I talked about. The international financial structure that's totally discrediting Africa, designed to keep Africa down. African countries are getting loans, 15 to 20% interest rate. Some of you may not know, maybe top 3 African countries may at one point or another defaulted on their loans. Majority of African countries have never defaulted on their loans, and yet their ratings are still very low. You take, for example, COVID. All countries' ratings were low soon after COVID started, but Western countries, their ratings have since been raised. African countries, their ratings are still low, and yet we're least affected by COVID. Go figure. Look at the World Trade Organization, the international trade policies, completely skewed against the Africans because they don't want Africans to add value to our natural resources so we can create millions of jobs in the West. And yet we're still suffering massive unemployment of our youth. And the safe havens I spoke about, the illegal trade, the illegal mining. You fly low over the DRC, you'll see 747s picking up minerals in the jungles, tarmacs in the jungles. Nobody's talking about all that. Those are the issues I want you to understand. And of course, the tiny little economies that were intentionally designed not to survive. If we do not begin to trade with each other, how does a Malawi guy with his Malawi kwacha trade with a Nigerian guy with his Nigerian naira? It's impossible. And yet it's easier for both of them to exchange with the dollar or the euro or the pound. Those are the issues of the root, my brothers and sisters. That if we do not address them, changing a leader alone is not going to change anything. We must understand our Africa from her totality. So as we strategize, a complete overhaul is needed. We go in with a strategy that will give us the desired results. And that starts by understanding our Africa completely from A to Z. Africa 101 is an effort to do precisely that. A summary of where we have been, what was done, the games that were played, the games that continue to be played, and what we can do to change the course and the trajectory of our beloved Africa. Remember, issues above the root and issues of the root. The issues above the ground and the issues below ground. The issues below the ground is where we have been failing. We have not been understanding them. We have not been appreciating them. We have concentrated on the flowers and the leaves and the fruits and the branches that come and go one season after the other. Let me end by saying, you see, the colonizers came to our Africa. They occupied our home. They're sitting at the table in our house, eating our food. And we prepared the food for them. And when we finish preparing the food for them, we go under the table and wait for them to drop off a few crumbs of our own food. And while we are under the table, they put together a system so we can begin to fight each other over which sister got more chunks, a larger chunk of the chunks of the crumbs under the table. So we fight each other over the crumbs under the table. So we never have to talk about the 10-course meal going on the table. I am saying to you, my brothers and sisters, there's a 10-course meal going on the table. And we're being thrown a shiny object while under the table, and we're running after the shiny object when the real deal is in the opposite direction. That is the 10-course meal on the table. Understand your Africa and understand it fully. Then make a commitment to play your part. And the way we play our part is through unity. Our strength is in our unity. Financially, I'm not concerned. Financially, we have the funds. But when we are asleep, we will never trust each other. But when we wake up, we realize that it's not about me today. It's about 10 years from now. It's about 2 generations down the road. It's about 100 years from now. Where do you want your children to be? Where do you want your rest to be? What do you want your legacy to be? Which generation finally took the bull by the horns and say, hey, that's it. The game is over because we are here, united, one formidable force of Mother Africa's children. Enough is enough. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for listening to me. May the conversation continue.
Thank you, sis. you. I don't know where you are, but I am clapping, I am standing, and I am thanking you for your word and your energy. It is well needed, and I trust that it was well received. Once again, Her Excellency, Dr. Arikana Shihom Bori Quao. Thank you again for that, and thank you for letting me be a part of what you were doing. I told you in Charlotte that once you gave me the flag, I said, we are friends, and whatever you are doing, I am there, I am with you. And I couldn't make it to Africa, but I am planning a trip next year that I do with my grown gang. And I always tell people on the radio, on my radio show, I say, there's a problem with me going to Africa. The problem is when I get there and it's time to go, and I go to the airport and everybody is leaving and everybody is taking pictures, but they notice I'm not in the line to go. Oh. Because I said, well, let me give it 30 more days. And then that turns into 60 more days. So I always joke about the problem I have with coming to Africa is I might not want to come back here. And I always say, who wrote the rule book that says you have to live your whole life in these United States? So I just want to thank you for your inspiration. I want to thank you for your truth. And before I bring the next speaker on, you reminded me of a hashtag that I use a lot on Instagram. When I look at a video, when somebody puts a quote up and it's all truth, it's hashtag where is the lie? Everything that you just talked about, if I had to formulate it and compartmentalize it, it would be hashtag where is the lie? I couldn't find one. And it reminds me of a story, Sister Mary, you're gonna like this, that the minister talked about one time. And he said that truth and lie went swimming. And truth and lie both took their clothes off and jumped in the pool. He said, but lie got out of the water when truth wasn't looking and put on truth's clothes and took off down the street. And then the truth got out the water with no clothes on and was chasing lie down the street, which means you had a well-dressed lie being chased by naked truth. You take that analogy and use the lie as the United States, and you use Africa from the truth. And that's exactly what the United States has been doing since day one. They have been a well-dressed lie being chased by naked truth. So it's time that we are all about truth. And I personally can't thank you enough for your words and your efforts and what you're doing. I want to move right in to our next speaker, if you will. And I want to introduce you to the media director for the ADDI. He goes by the name of Davies Chirwa. Please welcome him into the Zoom.
You have to unmute yourself, Davies.
All right, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. I am so honored and excited to be here today
I'm telling you, the most hardest thing to do is to speak after Her Excellency speaks. You know, I've tried it. It never works for me because she takes me places where I get excited, I get emotional, and I get fired up, and I lose the paper that I had, all the preparation that I had. I seem to throw it away because she takes me to places where I get so emotional, but I get excited. So I'm honored this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. I see some of you are in Africa. Some of you are here in the United States. Some of you in the United Kingdom. And some of you right here in the West Coast, where it's in the morning for me. My name is David Chira. Mr. Brother Tony, so much for doing a fantastic job this morning, this afternoon, for hosting us. We welcome you with open arms. We love you. We expect that you stick around with us for as long as it takes. So my name is David Chira again. I am from the central part of Africa. I grew up in a place called Zambia and Malawi. So I moved to the United States about 20 years ago. And so when I came here, just like everybody else had a story, I was looking for happiness, to try and figure out, you know, what do I need to do that can make me happy? In other words, what could I do for free and still be happy? And I saw for many, many years, over 20 years, I was looking and looking, trying to figure things out. And still up to now, I couldn't find it until of late, when I found the inner peace, which is really telling my own story and helping others from the continent and all Black folks to tell their own stories. And I remember growing up in Africa, information was passed on from one generation to the next via sitting down. And all the folks used to take us and put us together, and we started having conversations. And I thought it was boring. I couldn't wait to walk away from that. But now at my age, that's when I truly appreciate, you know, what our culture, you know, brings to me, what our culture does to build us up. Before I begin, most of you may already know that there's a wonderful book that you need to pick up. It's called Africa 101 by Excellency. If you haven't bought that book, please, 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 the link that's constantly being given to you, please make sure you visit the link. Try as much as you can to get that book, because it's a Bible of knowledge that most of us need. Now, this is a very unique meeting because we have media people, which is very, very rare. I wish and look for opportunities like this where all of us can get together and have a conversation as media folks. Most of you that may know me, you've probably seen my coverage, the opportunity to cover President Obama, Hillary Clinton, the NFL games, the US soccer. You may see me at the BET Awards, the MTV Awards, and I always get the same question. What makes you different as an African to have access to be in those places where most of the people are not? And my answer is very simple. I'm hungry, I look for access, and I read the fine prints, and I create those opportunities for myself. Now, what ADDI is bringing to us as media folks is to try and give us the tools that we need to get that access. Because we cannot change our narrative if we don't have access. So what does that mean to have access? That's why we are here today, to try and have that conversation. Now, in the near future, ADDI is creating a database where all the media folks on the motherland, here in the United States, in general, you can sign up in the UK, wherever you are, in Europe, you can sign up and be a part of the movement. It's very rare that you find media working as a collective, and that works against our, access. So what this platform is going to be is to allow us to get direct access to the information that's coming from Her Excellency. Those of you who are here from the beginning today, you heard how much information she has. And I dare you, if you spend a day with Her Excellency, each and every minute, you're going to have a notebook so you can take notes, because each moment you spend with Her Excellency is a teaching moment. And so most of the people ask me, what do we need to do as Africans? I live here in Seattle, Washington, and today the NFL, if you watch soccer, it's the finals between the Seattle Sounders and Atlanta team. And every moment I cover these events, the first thing that I talk about, I look around and I see there's nobody that looks like me. Later on, there's nobody that has an accent like me or anybody from Africa. And I begin to ask my questions. We have fine media anchors all across the continent, all across the United States. Why are people not having access? And intentionally, there's a gap that was created in the sense that if we're given access, we'll be able to tell our own stories. And therefore, the fine prints are not provided to us to where we can create opportunities to share our stories. And so this moment, I want to encourage you, if you are out there and you are a social media influencer, if you're an organized media outlet, if you're an ethnic media outlet, please make sure you register with ADGI. And you can simply go to the website, ouradgi.org, and you have access. You register. As we transform from the current website into the new website, you'll be able to see the difference, and then where we can actually divide, where we have radio stations over here, TV stations over here, but then also working as a collective. We have a responsibility to tell our stories from where we come from. It reminds me of the southern part of Zambia, where most of the people from Zambia may know this. When you watch the movie Black Panther, the tradition that you see in the movie, it actually exists in the southern part of Zambia. And Sister Sylvia, if you're on the call, you can agree with me, where the same process that you saw in the movie, things that we never used to pay attention to, is now what's in the movie. And most of us argue about the Victoria Falls, which side is a better side of the falls, whether it's the Zimbabwean side or the Zambian side. But all that played out very, very well for people to learn about the Victoria Falls because of the movie. And so we have a responsibility as folks that can report about things that affect us, as people who can report about things that can lead us forward. Here in the United States, things have changed. The way we used to report back in the day, most of you might know this, there's something called the ambulance chasers. Ambulance chasers was a way that most people used to have to make sure that you join the frequency that sends the signal. If there's an accident or there's an issue, you get the information and you run off and you try and report that case. But now, over the years, technology has changed. Social media has become a tool that's more powerful than ever before. And so if you own a media outlet, or if you are an independent contractor, or if you are a blogger, make sure you belong to some organization that's going to give you some type of credibility. It reminds me of 2014 when most of African media outlets were invited to come and cover the presidential meeting here in the United States. It was in Washington, D.C. And I remember most of the people being upset because they traveled all the way from Africa and came to the United States, only to come and sit in a room to stare at the TV when President Obama was speaking. And I told them to say, did you read the fine print? Because when you came here, you thought you were going straight to the White House. But what it said was that you get the credentials to come to the United States, and then you get the credentials to go to the White House. And so information like that can be lost somewhere in between the lines if people are not provided with information. So as ADGI, we're trying to bring everybody together so we can provide those information. If there's something that's going on, you need to be a part of a collective so that you understand the details of what's going to happen. Facebook, for example, most of the people just go on Facebook. If you're a media outlet, there's a different accreditation that you have to take as an outlet so that you have exclusive access. Because if you don't do that, they are going to block your reporting. And so again, ADGI is going to provide with you those tools, whether it's through education, whether it's through conferences, whether it's through conversations like this. People can get access and understand how to prepare themselves, because most of us carry a lot of tools within ourselves. And then don't just look at the bigger picture. Look at the smaller picture. How many stories surround us as human beings in our communities that can be amplified? A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to this lady who might be on this call right now. She is from Kenya. She's a church pastor from Kenya. And I heard about her story. So we got connected. And as soon as I started to interview her, she told me, she said she had COVID. She had COVID. She was in the ICU. Basically, they called, they told her to reach out to the family members and say her last words and things like that, because they told her she had no chance of survival. And so miraculously, she survived. And so when I began to speak with her, I said, what did you hold on to that made you survive when you're on the ICU machine for 2 weeks? And she said, my faith in God, as well as there's this woman, she's called Dr. Arikana. You need to connect with her because she didn't know anything about me. And she began, and I let her speak, so she began to tell me about Her Excellency and how much Her Excellency have touched her life and things like that. And she struck me in a very, very strong way, because to understand how Her Excellency has really, really impacted a lot of people, it just took me to a different place. And I realized to say, as media, those are the stories we need to start telling. Our brother Tony was talking about how excited he was about the African flag, to see the African flag, and he connected to Her Excellency through that. But I'm here to tell you, the young man who designed the flag, he lives about 20 minutes from where I am right now. Nobody knows that story. And so things like that we need to bring to the open. The work that ADDI is doing on the continent right now, most of you who are on this call, you may know what's going on. You may have the idea about the smart cities. You may know what Arikana is doing right now on the continent, but there's not too much traction. Why is that? Because we're not in a place where we are reporting the way we should. The first thing that I do, and I remember at the BET Awards, or even at the when I go to a soccer game, if I'm covering FIFA or I'm covering soccer here in the United States, the first thing that I do when they ask me, who do you want to speak to? I say, give me all the Africans. That's what I do. Give me all the African folks, and I make sure that I share their stories, because they have unique stories on how they got to play professionally in the United States or in Europe, but nobody talks about that. So we have the power to create the Africa that we want by sharing our story. And I remember my disappointment when I came to the United States, because everything that I saw on TV was so great and sexy. And when I came here, I was so disappointed, and I was ready to go back home right there and then. But then I was ashamed to go back because I didn't want to look like a failure. Why is that? It's so because the United States, or maybe the Westerners, just do a very, very, very good job of painting who they are and selling themselves to other continents. And that's exactly what we need to reverse. So as Africans, as Black folks from the Caribbean, here in the United States, in the UK, back in Africa, we need to work as a collective, and media is playing a big role to make sure that we change the narrative. One of the things that we also need to do is to invest the knowledge in the youth. I live by example. I have a daughter who is 15 years old now. When she was 5 years old, she picked interest in what I do. She saw celebrities walking into my house, working out, into my house, working out. At that time, we didn't even have a studio. And so to her, she thought that was actually, normal. And I said, this is not a normal life. You have access because we created that platform where you can have access. And so this young lady today, she's 15 years old, but I started training her when she was 5. By 10 years old, she was one of the youngest media accredited anchors in the country here in the United States. And so that's what it's all about, making sure that we pass on the knowledge to the generation that's coming after us. We cannot change Africa today by ourselves, but we have to create a template and a blueprint that will keep going. And so it's a privilege and honor to just have an opportunity to work with Her Excellency and learn as much as I can. And I just want to say, Your Excellency, it's an opportunity for us to learn from you, and we'll continue to learn from you. And thank you for thinking about the media department, because media plays a big role. As you can see, everybody on this call, they have the experience, they have the expertise, but they don't have a way to get access. And ADDI is the beginning of providing that platform for us to have access. So thank you so much. If you're on this call and you're listening and you're trying to connect with us, again, just go to ADDI or addi.org. Please register. And if you don't have a book, make sure you put your hands on that book, because there's a lot of knowledge that we need to have as media anchors. And we have a lot of uplifting stories in the community. If you think you need to have the interview with Her Excellency, please, there's a channel, reach out to us, and we can provide that access to make sure that you talk to Her Excellency and continue to learn. She's very busy, as you can see, but we're trying to make sure that we make it happen. And for those of you that have been sending messages from Africa on how, what are the platforms that we can use to move forward as far as communication, Zoom is one of them, but as well as other platforms that we can provide with you depending on what's happening. If it's a press conference, we'll give you the platform. If it's a one-on-one meeting, we'll give you a platform. So I want to thank you. We have a lot of fantastic speakers who are going to speak after me. And Your Excellency, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you on behalf of the board members of ADDI as well as the media team. Thank you so much. So God bless you, and I can't wait to hear from the rest of the folks. Thank you so much.
Peace and blessings to you, good brother. I appreciate your words, man. And listen, I'm in. All right. Now, me and you getting ready to turn into the new media bad boys, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. I'm going to let you be Martin Lawrence, okay? And I'm going to be Will Smith, okay? But we get ready to take this thing over, and I want to let you know something, sir. You look incredible. You see, you came on here. The grown man motto is look good, smell good, feel good. And you came on here looking like a stimulus package, and you got that tone on. I see what you're doing. That's not just purple. If you get the big crayon box with the 164 crayons in there, you know that's not purple. That's magenta. Boy, I appreciate what you're doing, sir. Yes, sir. So listen, I need you in my contacts, okay? I don't have LeBron James yet, but I need you. You the next best thing, all right? So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your words, man. And if you understand about the media, which I'm a part of, the first syllable in media is me, which means the responsibility falls on who? Me. And there is no law that says when you're in media, you can't deliver your truth for your people. And that's what I try to do on my radio show daily. I always say information is the new currency. So of course I would like to thank Her Excellency, and I would also like to thank you, because with the information we've gained thus far, my mental ATM, my deposits are going up. So thank you, good brother. I appreciate you. And we are going to slide right into our next speaker that is patiently waiting. I would like to introduce to you, and I want you to receive her in the room, Dr. Susan Tata. Please clap for her, and I hope I pronounce her name right.
Dr. Tata, if you can raise your hand if you're logged in, because I'm not seeing you in the list, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Where is Dr. Tata?
Or we can actually skip right ahead to Ross Jomo and then circle back to her.
Circle back to her? Okay, because I thought she might have been a part of the breast cancer awareness. You know, Save the Tatas. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Let's keep it going. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's bring on this good brother right here. I'm going to talk to you about the call to action, which is a word that I love. Action. Community outreach call to action. Brother Jomo Okono. What's going on, good brother?
Everything is well. I'm happy that you didn't have any problems with my name, and I appreciate you for that. And I want to let you know I'm well dressed today, and we representing. But I am the naked one running down those lies, and I want to just get right into it because my ticker is on. I don't need you to flag me unless you pass an offering or something. So go ahead, put your flag down.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna jump into this thing here. All right. Greetings, everyone. I am Ross Jomo. I am based in Buffalo, New York. And right now I am one of the members who works on a radio show, a Black-owned radio station, WFO, in the city of Buffalo, only Black-owned. And it's actually a woman-owned AM, FM, as well as internet radio show, radio station in Buffalo, New York. It's the longest running. This year, they are going to be celebrating 61 years. And one of the things that I want to stay focused on for this call to action is control the narrative. It's something that we've been saying a whole lot, especially since the election season, this whole aspect of voting and getting our communities and people registered, and the whole idea of just being activists and even running candidates. One of the things that has popped up a lot is that many people are saying, what is the government? What are these different administrations going to do for us? And realistically, that's the improper way, I believe, to approach political candidates. Communities should have their agenda, and they should tell political people what they want. And if you want us to vote for you, then you have to agree and have some sort of standards that represent our principles. Those things take place because we don't control the narrative. We are being narrated to, and many times we are the ones who are kind of, focusing on what other people and persons are communicating to us. Which brings us to media, which is why the media is so important. As we talk about media, I want to talk about one of the most important persons. For my notebook page, I had taken a couple notes while the program was going on. You all had me so fired up as well. I wanted to make sure that I communicated what was coming. The first thing I wanted to do is I want to give thanks for being here, and I want to give thanks to the Creator, and I want to also thank and remind our community to be mindful of our ancestors and those who have helped to bring us this far, those who have passed the baton. So there are some names that I want to raise, and I want to raise these names because I think that we need to be able to understand their narrative. One of the first ones I just want to mention is I want to mention the name of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to mention his son who just made transition a few days ago, Marcus Garvey Jr. I want to mention the name of Robert Nesta Marley, Burhani Selassie. He's light of the Trinity. That's Bob Marley's baptismal name for those who don't know. Queen Nanny of the Maroons, Malcolm X, also known as El Haj Malik Shabazz, or also known as Omo Wali. He's known as Omo Wali because he was presented an African name after traveling to Africa. Brother Tonex, he came back, after he went to Africa. So it is possible to be excited and to come back, but he came back with more fire, more gasoline, which is, talking about this whole idea of the name change. He also came back after attending and being involved in the 1963 inauguration of the OAU in Addis Ababa. He also would like to know that Malcolm X was around at the same time as another giant, that is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That name is very important because there are thought processes that many of us don't realize because we don't control our narrative, and many people are caught with Reverend Dr. King as only being a dreamer. But he had a clear vision, and he wrote a book called Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. It's the last book he wrote. He wrote this book on the island of Jamaica, and within 7 months, he was assassinated. There are thought processes in this book that would make you thinking that you're reading Malcolm X's book. So controlling the narrative is very important. I want to go to Africa. I want to mention the name of Sheikh Ibrahima Fall out of Senegal. I want to mention the name of Sheikh Hamadou Bamba. I want to mention the name of Kwame Nkrumah. I want to mention the name of Ahmed Sekou Touré. I want to mention the name of Patrice Lumumba. And this could go on for days, but we have to remember also that many of our leaders have been made to be infamous by other people's narrative, other people's media. Because the history of what was talked about for Malcolm X, what was talked about with Dr. King, what was talked about Patrice Lumumba, was talked about with Ahmed Sekou Touré. I'm not talking about anybody being perfect. I'm talking about the narrative that others have outlined for us that we believe without verifying, without having our own media, without having our own writers, our own storytellers, our own presenters. The story can be running around well dressed, and as Brother Tonex said, it doesn't mean it's the truth. It doesn't mean it's the truth at all. And that is where we are right now in this 21st century. And in the time of truth, and in the time we have access to information, we have to realize that I want to lift up one more thing before the time slides. From 1920 to 2020 represents 100 years of Marcus Garvey with the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, and the ACL, which is the African Communities League, which was created to unite all Africans everywhere under the banner of Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. So that just qualifies everyone. And in that time, it was a man. The energy came through the man, the male of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Personally, as I look at history and in my narrative, I control my own narrative as much as I can. That same spirit is on earth again. It's just that it's taking place now in a woman. And I can see the same spirit. Dr. Quao has that spirit and has that power of Marcus Garvey. But there's a difference. The difference now is that the heads of state, the heads of independent states are in communication, and they are in desire of the skill set. They are in desire of the mutual benefits. They are in the desire of the progress that the African children at home and abroad can do together. When Marcus Mosiah Garvey was here, there were only two independent African nations, Liberia, which was created as a state. I'm not talking about its sovereign land, and Ethiopia. So the time has changed. And if we're true to any of these leaders that I mentioned or any of your own leaders, we have to make sure that we continue passing the righteous baton to our young people. We have to also use all of the skill sets that we have attained to further the development of the continent and all of the people wherever they may reside. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad mean that while we are in Africa doing great things, we should protect the rights of those in North America. We should protect those in Central America, the Caribbean islands, inside the UK. All right, there has to be a cultural consciousness that must take place where we're reunited again. All right, in history. With this call to action, I want to mention a couple of more things. I'm from Buffalo, New York. It's one of the places or one of the stops along the Underground Railroad. I'm right near the border of America and Canada. So inside of that area, the personage of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, he came to our city. The city of Buffalo had one of the UNIA ACL organizations. There was the Ethiopian World Federation, number 6. That organization was another international African call to action that was created to help Ethiopia during the Italian invasion of Ethiopia. All right. So throughout history, we have had organizations, but we also have simultaneously had media. We had a newspaper that is still in existence from 1925 called the Buffalo Criterion, Black owned, Black operated, same family. And that is how we have been able to control and keep our narrative. So this idea about us being able to speak our own truth, controlling the narrative, it is the job of our media to make sure that we present, we educate, we inspire, and we promote those who are bringing the best out of us. Now, as a community, I want to call the community to action because I hear what we're saying as media person, what I can do, what other persons can do. Well, this is what I think that we can do at all of our homes to control the media. And you all can get your pen and paper or try to request the recording of this. One of the most important things we can do in controlling the narrative is we have to control our calendar. How do we spend our time? What time do we set aside for our African things? What time do we set aside to talk about Africa? What time do we set aside to talk about our family history? What time do we set aside to project into our children the greatness that is due to them, the greatness that they are capable of? We have to control our own calendar. That is how we begin to control the narrative. While you're controlling your calendar, while you are controlling your narrative on that perspective, we also want you all to commit to spread the word, especially as media people, about the ADDI. Remember, when Marcus Mosiah Garvey was on Earth, he had no cell phone. He had no Instagram account. He had no Twitter account. He had no cell phone. He had no fax machine. He didn't even have a pager. I don't even know if anyone else has a pager now. Okay? These are things that were taking place. That Marcus Garvey had over 4 million Black people all around the world in heart step. That means their heart and their minds. Yeah, beeper. Yeah, he had everyone. He had everyone on that platform all around the world waiting. Even when they banned his newspapers in the continent of Africa, young people would memorize the stories, get off of boats and listen to the stories and then spread them through the community. So when you're hungry for the truth, the naked truth, we have to do our best to make sure that we find it. That is our responsibility. This is how we can control the narrative. Okay, this whole reasoning session right now is about what we can do. And for those who are on, the warrior side, the rebellious side, those people who want to fight and be, militaristic, I'm gonna give you 3 battles, 3 wars that we must win before 2021 ends. And I'm praying for this. The first battle that we have to fight is we have to fight some BC battles. So write the 2 letters BC down. And the first BC battle that we must win is we must win the battle and define ourselves before all of you Africans who are outside the continent of Africa. Who were you before captivity? This is a BC battle, because if your narrative only begins with I'm a Jamaican, I'm an American, I'm from Puerto Rico, I'm from Haiti, I'm from Dominican Republic, that's somebody else's narrative. Your history is 10 times longer than that before you were in captivity. All right, that's one battle that all you soldiers out there, Buffalo soldiers, I know you all are watching, and all you other members of different groups, you have to control the narrative of who we were before captivity. All right, all of you who are celebrating Emancipation Days, in America, you're celebrating Juneteenth. This evidence that you were stolen property. Someone stole you, took your sovereignty. All right. So I'm calmly stating that's one battle that must be fought, and it must be won. There's another battle that must be, this one has to be trampled under feet, like trampled under the ground. And this BC is the Berlin Conference. If you don't destroy everything that has grown off of this conference, then we're doing a disservice to our families. The Berlin Conference, that battle must be that there must be no more life left after that one. We have to destroy what the Berlin Conference has done to us and our people. All right. These are things that we can do to control the narrative. All right. 2 BCs, before captivity, before the Berlin Conference. And for all of you lovely brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, there's another BC that we have to fight with. And that is before colonialization. We have to know who we were, who our ethnic groups were, what our traditions were, what our music was, what our cultures were, how we planted, how we traded, how we bartered, especially as we enter 2021, and we're going to be celebrating and working on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. You have to have a reference point beyond Europeans to understand how we're going to make this thing work. Okay? And these are just 3 BC battles that must be, I feel, in my narrative, they have to be controlled and they have to be won like now, as soon as possible. You can do this around a dinner table. All right. I also want to remind everybody, some people I feel around the world are getting mentally, socially, and are losing confidence because of this shut-in or this stay in place, or many people are, quarantining or whatever you want to call it. In the Bible, when people were forced to separate from other people, they called that sanctify. And when people got sanctified, I mean, you kept the germs out and you kept the good things in. So that way you didn't get sick. No plagues, no deaths, no death angels, whatever you want to call it. As we are all being forced to stay together, I need us to control the narrative with our own family. It's not about convincing the world. I'm not interested in everybody else. I'm interested in our sons, our daughters, our children, our aunts, our cousins, our grandmothers, our elders. We need to sit down and find out what happened to us. And as we talk about what happened to us, I wanted to show you something. One of the greatest things that we can do, I know it's going to be in reverse, to talk about what happened to us is you have to get this book. If you don't know it for yourself, you have to begin to realize what happened to Africans on the continent for the last 400 years. What happened to Africans who were taken to the Caribbean? What happened to Africans in Central America? What happened to Africans in South America? What the hell happened to Black people in America? How did we get like this? All right. We have to begin to have these discussions in our homes. And while we're all in all these countries together, we need to extend these conversations in your church. This book needs to be in your church. For those of you out there who are in schools, it needs to be in your school system. Why? Because we're still looking at other people's version of history for us. That's not controlling the narrative. As a matter of fact, most of us aren't going to school right now anyway. You're homeschooled anyway. So in your own home, nobody cannot, you know, dictate what you put on your own living room table or in your bedroom or what you have on your book. This reasoning needs to take place in the house. I'm not talking about what government leaders or anybody elected need to do. And we have a lot of beautiful people that have been elected. Naquita Ricks, I think I saw you on the call, and some other persons. We have some very important people that are elected. But before we begin to make many claims to elected officials, we have to have a reference point of where we're going to start this reasoning. How are we going to control our money, our economics? Okay. The last thing I want you to do to control the narrative, I'm asking you to control the narrative. Control the narrative of your family. Marcus Garvey said that the race who controls science and religion is going to be the race that runs the world. And right now, this idea of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, math. I'm going to say it again, slow. STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, math. To all of those activities, every child has to at least master 2 or 3 of those things in that acronym. Because without arts, all of our culture is based on someone else's reference points. Without us having technology, we're asking foreigners to come in and develop our countries and our neighborhoods. Without mathematics, we're asking other people to figure out our problems. If you look at the history of Africa, if we know who we are, BC, before captivity, before colonization, before the Berlin Conference, our reference point is science, technology, building. We're the progenitors of civilization. So we don't really need anyone to tell us how to manage our households, how to stay healthy from disease and germs. That's not really our issue unless we're off kilter or something. We don't have a proper reference point. Control the narrative. I don't want this man to start waving this flag because I ain't into a finger to be excused. I don't want him to wave the flag on me. But family, controlling the narrative with arts, science, math, STEM, the science. That is what is needed in Africa. And as we're talking, begin to read the news. We have to look at Dr. Susan's show. We have to look at Denta's show. Our radio shows on every Sunday from 7 to 10 p.m. We'll leave all the addresses. People who are talking about Africa positively, we need to support them. And we need to take our money, our dollars, and we need to learn how to invest. We're getting ready to control a calendar by celebrating our own holidays, Kwanzaa. 2 principles I want to talk about, Ujima and Ujima. Collective work and responsibility is practicing working as a nation. Ujima, practicing cooperative economics. If we don't know how to put our money together for positive things, we're not going to be able to manage like countries and neighborhoods and govern states. We have to practice small. The ADDI provides us a chance to pool our resources, to pool our talents, our resumes, our CVs, pull these things together. And everything that we're doing to build all of these countries that we are in right now, let us take some of that energy and let's plan on rebuilding an Africa that's good for us, that's worthy of the dignity of our ancestors, and it leaves our children something good to say, that in the time of history, my parents, my grandparents controlled the narrative. They controlled history by taking care of the president. Control the narrative, please. This is something that we don't need nobody's permission to do. Control the narrative and win those BC wars, please. Our families would love that. Our ancestors would love that. Win those BC wars now. All right. Thank you. Peace and love.
Thank you, good brother. Man, we appreciate those words right there. And again, that right there was another live episode of hashtag Find the Lie. Not at all, brother. Could not find the lie. You're going to make me come to the rough buff. And
get on up here.
I'm going to come to the rough buff, baby, because I need to come on WFO and talk about a few things. And then I need to get that STEAM concept down to Charlotte, North Carolina, man. So we're going to connect, family. We're going to connect. And I could tell by the way you kept saying about the green flag, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. I almost started to wave it, but my wife was like, I like his beard. So I didn't do it. So my wife saved you on that one, brother. But we appreciate you, man. we appreciate those words. We appreciate that truth, because that's exactly what it is as far as controlling the narrative. If you don't own it, you can't run it. You just under it. You don't own it, you can't run it, you just under it. And it's time for us as the media to become our own CNN. Because right now, CNN stands for Caucasian News Network, because I'm not talking about the specific stories per se, but I'm talking about the wording, the energy, and how the stories are presented. We always end up behind the 8 ball. So, yes, sir, 110% salute to you. And it's definitely time to change the narrative. Fear and God cannot coexist in the same space. So it's time for us to forget that fear and start doing what we need to do. We can now move into the Q&A portion of the call, and I'd like to wish the Dr. Susan Tata another celebratory trip around the sun, celebrating her born date. I just wanted to throw that out there. That's all. I just wanted to throw that out there and show her some love and say she's a little under the weather. And we all send positive energy and positive vibes to her so she can get back to 100%. Sister Amira, I have a question that is directed to the ADDI Media Director. Do you want me to ask that?
Yes. I wanted to take those who had their hand raised.
Okay, well, go ahead. Go ahead. And Kanye is trying to get in on the Zoom, and he's getting on my nerves. So when we do this first question, can you please go take care of him? And for God's sake, don't let him say nothing.
Indeed. All right. So the first question we had was from Mercy Ansa. I think I might have just liked your name.
Okay.
So Mercy.
Hi. I've been hearing everything, but I think the youth of Africa, more of them don't know about this ADDI. It's a special program going to be held so that public campaigns and things, they will be aware of what is going to happen in Africa, because they don't know. They don't have a clue. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So how about we go to Tunde Obazi?
Okay. That sounds right.
Tunde Obazi.
Come on, Tunde.
Hello, my name is Tunde Obaze. First of all, Tony X, we must connect. Brother Jemo Akono, we must connect. David Tiwan, we must connect. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Arikana for, again, this opportunity. I had the opportunity to meet you in New York sometime last year. We're in the company of Izozo and my wife, Kelly. And I think at that time, as I did mention, said, however you got to this position, this was divine, because I agree with everything you've spoken, and the wake up, the continuation of colonialism, you drew my attention to that. I was aware of Berlin Conference. But understand, I came to this country about 42 years ago. I'm originally from Benin City, Nigeria. All the arts in the Western world belong to us. Myself and Dr. Inahoro sometime was using actually to bring the mask Idia, which is actually ours, home back to Benin, or at least all the resources. We can use that even now to galvanize us, teaching our children and the resources that we have. I have been, well, yes, I am one of the rebels. I am an engineer, I'm an IT professional, but when I came to this country, the misunderstanding of us, I built my own radio station. I am not a musician. I had my own band called Code Red. It's a state of emergency. As long as the narrative continues to destroy us, we will destroy each other altogether. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So what I'm only saying now is that, how do we start? We have content portal where we all can submit materials. It's already available. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody had asked, the youth, we must educate our children, because for us old folks, I'm already nearing 70, where we can only help to teach. And so what I'm only saying now is that, when do we get started with actually content materials? Is this when I worked on something before to say, to create a portal where our youth can just submit whatever. They all carry cell phone. Submit content, and we'll start understanding the pulse within the community. Sorry, I know you're about to wave the flag, but I'm also saying that
I'm not gonna wave the flag, brother.
I appreciate you, because I was watching that flag as it moves. So I'm going to claim that flag from you. But having said that, there are a lot of things already. As we speak, Bridge Radio is playing music panorama from just all music from all over Africa. We need to bring our youths into it, use modern technology, even on create a media portal where they can learn skill. I can teach computer 101. I can teach music 101. So a lot of those things we need to do. So I'm not going to speak everything you have said, because it has been very powerful. The question is, how do we get started? I'm here in Culver City, Southern California. Anything, Dr. Davis, we can do that to join Anthony X and every other powerful person, and Dr. Arikana, I can't thank you. You know, that fire, keep that fire within you burning. You got a lot of us behind you. I thank you.
Sure, brother. I appreciate that. All the way from Cali, on the left coast, the west coast. I was touring with Monique. We would go to California often, and definitely, good brother. We have to connect. I need you in my contacts. I don't have Obama's contact as of yet, but you're the next best thing.
We're all one brother. We must continue.
Exactly right. We all connected. We are all connected. If you don't get anything from this today, you should definitely pick that up. We are all connected. It's nothing but energy, and it's a lot of positive energy that's being formulated right here, right now. So thank you, man, for what you're doing. Do we have another question, Sister Amira?
Yes, from Jim Taylor.
Hello, can you guys see me?
Yes, we see you.
How are you?
Doing blacktastic. How you doing?
I'm blacktastic as well. I wanted to definitely come on really quick and say I appreciate the movement. This is my third Zoom that I've joined in on. I actually did make a post. That's why I wanted to talk. I did a post. I have a pretty loyal following on Instagram. I'm 31, so I'm a bit younger than some of us that are here. And I really think the media push and social media, like we've been talking about, is extremely important. Right now, we don't have a pattern as far as how we're diving into media. The last group I had, they just said post. Right after that post, I went ahead, I did a picture and I did a post. I tagged ADDI movement on Instagram as well. I've also submitted so I can be a volunteer for the emails, because I know that that's going on. So if somebody can get back with me, I can help you guys with that situation as much as possible. I work from home and I have a couple of hours free where I'm willing to try to do 2 to 3 hours, so we can help to try to knock that down. But I wanted to say, because I do social media, I've grown tremendously with it. If someone can almost honestly, on the ADDI movement page, like how I tagged you guys and re-tagging the source of content that you get, that creates growth. Definitely music, TikTok, there's a lot of different platforms and things that's out here. And I know I'm willing to, I do TikToks, I do dances, I do different things, especially anything that references the motherland, okay? So we just need to go ahead and dive into it. I'm willing to get with anyone because I post regularly. So if we can get any type of pattern or anything that's needed, I'm willing to get it on my Instagram, but it needs to be more than me. But I know that I can get it to a nice amount of people. I know the post that I had, I at least got like 90 something people to comment back towards that, and it reached at least 800. So we need to keep getting that out there, keep getting the movement out there. And I don't even think we need to think about it. We just need to do it. But one thing is the ADDI members or those who are involved who are within a certain age range, I do think, like he was saying, we need to target them because they are going to be the movement. They are going to be the voice. They know what kind of captures, unfortunately, what's going on in the world now and how we can get those my age and younger, Gen Z, get them involved because it's extremely important. I do totally agree with what I heard before. There isn't a lot of people, especially diaspora. It's not enough of us who know about ADDI. ADDI is extremely important. It's extremely powerful. I've been dedicated, or definitely trying to be dedicated since I've come on, since I've come to my first Zoom. So definitely, if anybody can touch base with me, I'm definitely willing to help any form of growth that we can do. And I'm here. Definitely go check out my post. I took information from the resources of the website to explain the Wakanda Phase 1 and what you guys are trying to do with the building up and the African trade and everything. Everything that I can do to make it as lame, and I definitely put out on that post. So I'm just here. I do it. And I love you guys. Sending love. Ashe. That's it.
Ashe. Give thanks.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Want to remind all of you beautiful people to make sure that you get your copy of Africa 101, the Wake Up Call. Africa 101, the Wake Up Call by Her Excellency. Make sure that you order your copy. Do we have another question, Sister Amira?
Let's see who we have next here. How about Joy?
Okay, Joy.
Hi, thank you so much. Yes, I'm Joy Awe, as it stands, African Women in Europe. Yes, I want to also pass my regards to our sister Susan, who has been sick, and we appreciate her. She does a lot of work here for us here in Germany, really supporting us. And actually want to really appreciate what our ambassador, Dr. Arikana, does, because I can relate that having a network of African women in Europe, over 6,000 women, and we have been running this over 15 years. It has been a really big challenge mobilizing people together, women, word of mouth through internet. And I have to say, we have to change the narrative, because I remember when I started, and she also mentioned how she spent her money to be able to stick for the right and connecting diaspora here with the organization itself. So my question basically is that when I was starting, there was this narrative that African businesses, it's a very difficult business. And I remember I still insisted, still doing my way without looking for funds. And I believe we had all the energies and the resources we could really support the organization, which is really grown right now. And as I said, we do have quite a lot. We've written our own book, writing our own stories. We are starting also a lot of trainings online, and we're actually investing in Africa, because I had one of the person who asked questions saying that what do we have to do? What can we start? Yes, there is a lot that we can start, and we have already started as women investing in Africa, supporting different investment or as diaspora. So there is already women who are already doing a lot of work, and we have already been doing it, and it's going on. But my question was more of how can we change that narrative? Like, African business is a difficult business.
That's a good question. Who do we want to direct that question to? My good brother. My good brother. My new friend.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound clear. Go ahead.
All right. So first of all, I want to thank you for doing such a fantastic job, my brother. It's definitely a pleasure having you, and you're not going anywhere. That's our agreement, right? You're going to stick around. Absolutely, because you're needed. You're definitely needed. Let me start with Sister Joy, all the way in Germany. Part of what ADDI is doing is to amplify the voices. And it's not just the voices, but it's the voices of women as well. Because when you talk about media itself, there is marginalization of women in media. Let me say it one more time. We also marginalize women within media. When you watch TV, tell me how many times you see women being in the forefront. Most of the times you see them just giving commentary, here and there, and that's about it. So that's another issue that we need to tackle once we start to communicate. And it begins by all of us coming together. Then we'll form, Brother Tony, if it's okay with you, I think you can agree with me. I think this calls for some conference, some sort of a conference. We don't care whether it's through COVID, whether it's in, we're going to have to talk to the ambassador and try to get it done, because that's definitely important for us to get together. So women have to be addressed. We have to be given an opportunity. I just want to say this, when you're going back to Africa, what do we say? We say, I'm going to the motherland. Yes. We don't say, I'm going to the fatherland. We say, I'm going to the motherland. That tells you the power that women carry. In every aspect of life we can think about. We all come from a woman, and so that should be reflected within media as well. But that cannot happen unless we begin to tell our own stories and amplify women that are in the forefront. I can talk about the youngest young woman who was the first ever Black female pilot to fly an airplane from Africa. Nobody knows that story. And so we have to amplify, yes, we have to amplify that story. We have to make sure that women are present, women are involved in the forefront, not in the back. The other side is also true. Let me talk briefly about music. I remember just about 3 years ago, Wizkid won the BET Awards. And backstage, like I said before, when you watch TV, you're watching the BET Awards, all the folks that you see on stage are Black. But those of us that are behind the scenes, I can count with my own hand how many Black folks are there. Yes, and you begin to wonder, why is that? Because we don't own the content. The content belongs to somebody else. And that is why we're having a conversation like this today, because we have to own the content. Our brother who was there, Brother Tunde, mentioned about we already have content. We don't have a way to push content. So we need to create that, and ADDI is on the path we're creating that so that the youth are amplified. So we have access to where we can provide that content to the masses. One of the greatest advice I ever got was from Sam Mix-a-Lot. Most of you who might remember Saxomas Tonics, I know you know him. He was the greatest advice ever to me. He said, if you want to eat with the masters, feed the masses. But if you feed the masses, you eat. If you feed the masters, you eat with the masters. Let me say it one more time. If you want to eat with the masters, feed the masses. But if you feed the masters, you eat with the masses. Meaning to say, when you provide content, provide content for the masses, not for the masters. I hope that's clear to the people. I want to go back to our sister who asked about ADDI being known in Africa. We've begun rolling, the opportunities to Africa, beginning with some of the presidents that responded, and I believe Zambia is one of them, and the ambassador touches on that, and Tanzania, opening up that corridor. So we want to make sure that we're in touch with all those media outlets on the continent. Some of them are here because I invited some of them right now in this forum. And so we're rolling information as we go without overwhelming everyone, but we want to make sure that things are done in an orderly fashion, because where there's confusion, there's no success, And so we're trying to make sure that we raw content, we raw information in the rightful way. So please, again, register on ADDI or ADDI.org, because that's the first step. And I know most of us are fired up. We can't wait. But the first thing that we have to do is to register. And within the comment, if you need to get in touch with this, I see the flag, Brother Tony. It's coming closer to me. I see the flag moving closer to me. But most of you, if you have direct questions, please make sure you ask questions, and Sister Amira will make sure that we get your feedback. But let's move on to the next question. I hope I answered the two questions, and I think the other one was from Sister. One of our sisters talked about social media access. We do have a branch within the media segment that deals with social media. Point very well taken. We'll make sure that the similar hashtags are provided to all the media outlets. Again, it goes back to the same, a basic foundation, which is all of us beginning to talk, and then we provide information to everyone. So I thank you, all of you, for being as part of this call, and let's keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, good brother, man. You never disappoint. I almost pulled it out. I almost pulled it out and started waving it, brother. But that tie and that shirt, that tone-on-tone combination saved you. Might not save you next time. And I just want to thank Her Excellency, Dr. Arikana. This is, brother, we have miniature horses here in the United States, but this is a miniature zebra that the doc gave to me.
Zebra.
And you notice I didn't say zebra. I said zebra because my good friend, comedian Trevor Noah from South Africa, told me the proper way to pronounce zebra and not zebra. And I go around the whole country trying to get them to pronounce it the right way. And they look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't even try, good brother. I don't even try. Sister Amira, you know, we could do this all day with these questions. Is it almost time to wave the flag on the Q&A?
I think we're going to wave the flag on the Q&A and let Her Excellency close us out.
It's on. Because I need to feed.
Am I ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank all of you. Our moderator, you were amazing as usual. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. Thank you for the wonderful, wonderful, amazing work that you have done to keep us focused, to keep us on track, and also to keep us entertained. To my son, Davis, thank you for being our director for media and also facilitating this program and putting everybody together and making this event as resounding a success as it is. I want to thank all the listeners from all over the world for taking the time to also come and be part of this important conversation. I urge all of you to go to our addi.org and sign up. It's free. We would like to have 1 million people signed up. We have set up activities and programs that we have lined up that when we have the 1 million names, we can actually address. The issue of the dual citizenship, the 6th region needs to be advanced to the heads of states to be adopted as a decision. So we can now be like the other 5 regions of Africa officially. Most people are not aware that the 6th region is really just a political proclamation. It needs to be official, to be made official by being voted as a decision by the heads of states. We hope to push that and take it to where it can be tabled as a decision by the heads of states. We need to have the first right of refusal of all projects out of African countries. African countries are projects that they call international. Those are the projects that are being taken over by the Chinese, by the Europeans. We would like to make a case that we need the first right of refusal of all those projects. And for us, when we have the right numbers, they will listen to us. We need to talk about the issue of reparations, united as all Black people around the world. Again, we're going to be having a series of conversations, making our case to the world as to what has been done to Black people. And then after that, we're going to end up with a document that's going to be presented to the US Congress, to the European Union, to the AU, and to the United Nations. We're going to be looking at supporting some programs that are going to help us go home and begin to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming out of the African continental free trade area. We are lucky that currently the president of Ghana has declared a city of return, which he would like to see built in a city called Cape Coast in Ghana. Why Cape Coast? It's because that is the place, one of the places, one of 2 ports that were used to transport Africans who were taken as slaves out of Africa into the Americas. Those who left out of Cape Coast, those are the slaves who went to the United States and Canada. Those who left out of Elmina castles, they went to the Caribbean and South America. 80% of the Africans who were taken as slaves in West Africa, they were pulled in Ghana for transportation to the Americas. President Nana-Addo is saying that very same place where their ancestors left and last set foot on the continent of Africa, the children, the descendants must come back and own homes in that very same place. So they can sit on the edges of the Atlantic, facing the Americas, and tell the slavers, while they may have won for over 400 years, ultimately we are the victors, for the journey back home would have been completed. It is also significant in the sense that this is the healing that has been needed for far too long. As an African born in the continent, I am embarrassed to even think that 2020, nothing like this had ever been done. The African leaders had never called on their children to come home in a significant way, not just words, but actually do something about it. I've never imagined what it's like to go through life not knowing where you come from. And yet, this is what has befell our brothers and sisters who are descendants of the formerly enslaved, one generation after the other, to grow up not knowing where you come from. It's wrong, it is wrong, it is wrong. This wrong is now being righted. And when we have the numbers, when we have the people registered, we can actually be the formidable voice that can push our agendas forward. So Wakanda City of Return, be on the lookout. We already have a project manager on the ground in Cape Coast. We are going to be getting 2,000 hectares of land that have been promised to us. They're actually going to be walking the land next week. The architects are already working with the project manager in Africa. We have about 50 architects who are working with our brother, the director of engineering, Brother Thomas. He's on the call with us. I forgot to do a shout out on him when I was introducing the core team. He is one of the core team. Dr. Engineer Thomas is doing tremendous work. Right now, he has over 700 engineers that have signed up to work with him, engineers and architects. So already we have some preliminary designs. We are hoping to launch the Wakanda City of Return in February during Black History Month. So be on the lookout for that information as well. We're looking forward to having all of you get the content and keep notifying and informing the diaspora and the world of the work that we are doing as we unite for the purposes of going back home. So there are various activities we're involved in. We have a youth empowerment program. We have a women empowerment program. We have a legacy program where we are also fundraising. When you go to the website, you'll see those. Currently, I think we may be getting close to where we can send 5 students who are rising juniors or seniors to go spend a month at a university in Africa. We're in partnership with Association of African Universities. They represent over 400 universities in Africa. Their offices are here in Washington, D.C. So we're saying our children cannot know Africa through osmosis. We have to make it happen. So just like the Jews, they have the legacy program where a Jewish kid can just go to any Jewish embassy and say, I am Jewish before age 18, and they're guaranteed a round trip ticket to Israel. We want to be able to do the same thing as well. So the more of you who donate to the legacy program, the more children of our students we can send to Africa next summer, so they can begin to get to know Africa and not just see it from what the media is trying to show them. For the women, as we open our offices in every country, we're going to start with Ghana. We're going to be giving no interest loans to women, starting with the amounts are going to range from $250 to $1,000. I know people are saying, well, what can a woman do with such a small amount of money? Let me tell you what an African woman can do with $500. They can take the $500, buy a sewing machine for $300. The remaining $200, buy the fabric and thread and needle that they need to start a sewing business. Give them a little time, they will have a booming business. To give you an example, I have a girlfriend who did precisely that. She was working from her bedroom. She would make clothes, and she had two young ladies assisting her. And 2-3 times a year, she would drag suitcases of clothes because she had clients here in the United States. I'd known her to do that for many, many years. Today, because of AGOA, she was able to get a loan for $10,000, and she is now an employer of over 3,000 employees. Before COVID, she was importing to the US 240-foot containers of polo shirts. Because of COVID, they asked her to stop doing polo shirts and go on to COVID. She's one of the major manufacturers of PPEs in Ghana. So this is what a woman can do with $500. What can a young man do with $500? They can buy an umbrella, they can buy a table and a chair, and the first samples of cell phone cards. And they can start a business selling cell phone cards by the street side. And they can grow that to where they can actually feed themselves and take care of their families. So people can be so creative. $250, you can use it to start a vegetable garden. And before you know it, you're supplying the local store. So there are so many different ways that we can empower people. We do the same thing for the youth. But for every woman who gets this loan, there will be people who will be stationed in that country. We will have, the plan is, one person will be a diaspora from that country, born in that country, another one a diaspora from either African American, African Caribbean, or African Latino, and one person who would be a local person. Those are the first 3 officers that are going to man our office in each country, and the first country is going to be Ghana. They will monitor the issuance of those loans, and they will pair each woman who gets a loan to a mentor who would be a diaspora, be it a man or a woman, but I'm pretty sure the women are going to prefer to get another woman to mentor them. But if there are men who are willing to mentor them, that's okay too. We're going to do the same thing with the youth. So our entry into a country, we give these low, no interest loans to women and to the youth. So when you go to the website, you're going to see these areas. Donate if you can, but this is what we're planning on doing. And we're also looking forward to all of you being part of the mentorship program, which is being led by our own brother, Walter Carmack, who is also on the call. So when you get to the website, he's working on that program. As soon as he had all his information ready, we shall also post that mentorship program where these people don't necessarily have to have received a loan from us, but they are willing to be mentored. They have issues. So Brother Walter is going to be reviewing, with him and his team are going to be reviewing the young people who want the mentorship and making sure that they link them up with the right people who can give them the mentorship that they need. There's so much we can do when we work together. So we're saying when we are united, we can take care of ourselves. There are other areas that we want to get into at a later date. There are issues in the Caribbean. There are issues in South America. Black people are suffering. So again, when we unite, there's so much we can do. We know those people are there. We know those challenges are there. We also, at some point, want to look at, as we raise more money, what can we do to make a difference? So please, go to the website. Whatever you can donate is definitely appreciated. We're going to be giving you an end-of-year report where you're going to see exactly how much money has been collected, the little bit that we have spent, and we hope that we can, currently we have an entity that's being registered called African Diaspora Development Holdings. That's going to be the holding company. And out of that, there will be special purpose vehicles. For example, Wakanda City of Return. It's a special purpose vehicle that falls under the African Diaspora Development Holdings, LLC. So any other entity that we do, it's going to be a special purpose vehicle. So when we open our Wakanda in Zambia, it's going to be a separate SPV that people can contribute to and invest in as an SPV separately out of Wakanda, Zambia. When we open in Wakanda, Equatorial Guinea, the same thing. When we open investing in an airport for Travaco, that's a separate SPV. So that's the structure, but our end of year report is going to outline all that so you have a full picture of what we have done and what we plan to do and way forward. So I want to thank all of you to stay engaged. There's a lot more that we need to share with, but of course we can't do it without funding. Whatever you can give, we would appreciate it. It is going to a good cause. Once again, none of us are getting paid, not a penny. None of us are getting paid. We're doing this out of love and understanding and realizing that it takes all of us giving So whatever time you can give, whatever money you can give, whatever help you can give, greatly appreciated. The young lady who volunteered to come and help with the phone calls, Sister Sylvia, will be getting in touch with you. After events like this, we easily have like 500 emails, sometimes more. So we need people to help us respond to some of those messages. It becomes overwhelming sometimes. And as you get involved in the movement, you get to figure out where can you fit in and come in and help. So I thank you again, all of you. Sister Amira, thank you for making sure, coordinating all this and making sure that everything goes on well. I look forward to more engagements with the media team. I look forward to also you, media team, creating your own WhatsApp group and let me know what you think the next step should be from here moving forward. Thank you all once again. Have a wonderful weekend, and I appreciate you making the time.
Ashe. Tone, unmute yourself.
Okay, now, am I good now? Okay, once again, real quick, I just wanted to thank Dr. Arikana Shihom Quao for her words, for her energy. It's always inspiring, but it's been inspiring to hear and see women and their energy move like that. And since we understand that a woman is a man's first teacher, and we also have to understand, fellas, if we can get back to God body and the God mind and understand that the Black woman is the closest thing to God that you have on the face of this earth, we would move totally differently. To the Black community, Malcolm used to always say, we've tried everything. We rode in, we sat in, candlelight vigils, everything except unity. We understand how much power that is. Once we start to understand unity and the foundation is trusting in each other, we can make everything happen that we talked about today. I want to give thanks to Dr. Susan Tata, who wasn't physically able to be here, but her energy was here. My brother Jomo Okono in the rough buff, keep doing what you're doing. You know, we definitely are going to connect. The ADDI media director, Brother Davies, keep doing what you're doing. And you already know we're about to be the bad boys out here in this media thing. And of course, Her Excellency, Arikana Shihom Quao. Make sure you go get a copy of her book, Africa 101. Thank you for believing in me and having me be a part of the movement. And I am in like Flynn. That's where you messed up, because I ain't going nowhere. Shouts out to Sister Joy, who was representing Germany. I wanted to shout her out because I lived in Germany, Karlsruhe, Germany, for 2 years. And it's funny that what they had in Germany 34 years ago, the United States is still trying to get now, 34 years later. In 1986, you had free health care for every citizen. You could send your kid to college for free. One driver's license for the rest of yourself, for the rest of your life. And they're still fighting for that over here in the United States, but it's considered the mightiest nation. And I have to send some love out. I don't have to look far to find a strong Black woman. I see it every day. My wife, Yolanda, representing Y&S Entertainment. I just want to thank her for being a solid foundation, a solid rock, and always pushing me to be better. And my sister from another mister, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Amira, you did an incredible job. I want to thank you for your energy, for your organization, your mobilization, and making things happen. And don't forget, make sure you go pick up Africa 101. And before I get up out of here, it's only right that I let you know I am a new author as well. I have a book out. It's been out about 4 months. It is doing incredibly well. I would encourage you all to go and get a copy. It's called Grown Man Tips. Grown Man Tips. You can go to tonexedutainment.com and get you a copy. And once you do that, make sure you get you a copy of Africa 101, The Wake Up Call. Definitely want to do that. Africa 101, the wake-up call. Wake up from your slumber 400 years, free yourself from the mental shackle and slavery and colonization. So there it is. There it is. Thanks to everyone that was in the room, no matter where you were, no matter how you were listening. Thank you for your energy. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, brother. I love you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out like you usually do. It's an absolute pleasure. Y'all go get your book. Go get your book. Go get your book. And I'm going to go through these chats because I see y'all. Oh, I ordered mine last week. I know I sent some of y'all your tracking information. So keep it up. Just keep ordering the book. That's all you need to do. Keep ordering the book. Yay. All right. I love y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Try Jesus, not me, 'cause I throw hands. Try Jesus, please don't try me, because I fight. I know what he said about getting slapped, but if you touch me or mine, we gon' have to scrap. So, try Jesus, please don't try me, because I fight. I have no problem laying these hands. Try Jesus, don't try me, 'cause I throw hands. Try Jesus, please don't try me, because I fight. Oh, you said, turn the other cheek. Oh, but there's one part of the Bible that just don't sit right with me. So try Jesus, please don't try me, 'cause I fight. I have no problem laying these hands. Try Jesus.